Okay, and in 9, 8, 7, 6,
Not the 10 count.
5.
Hey, welcome to the Bread and Gonez Show. I'm your host, BG, and this week we are talking all about the money, as in can money buy you happiness? Speaking of happiness, we're also talking about whether or not teenagers should be allowed to get plastic surgery. Yikes. Then we have an interview with the one, the only, Noah 40 Shebib, aka OVO 40, where we talked about the work he's doing with his foundation to make the 6 a better place by supporting initiatives like the Justice Fund. And we also have a wild doing too much moment to tell you about, right, Dev?
Yeah, and it's local this time. It hits different.
But before we step into all that mess, I need you to do a few things like subscribe to this channel, tap that notification bell, and make sure to follow us on all of our social media. The details are in the description below. Okay, let's get into it. Ready? We've all heard the saying, money can't buy you happiness. But is that true? Can money actually buy you happiness? Quickly, yes or no?
Yeah.
Dev. Oh, Kelly, yeah?
Yeah.
Dev?
To an extent.
Okay, in the middle. Burns.
Yes.
So listen to this. An infamous study from a few years ago says that money only buys you happiness to a certain extent, as well-being stops increasing with salary after someone earns 75 grand a year. Just 75 grand?
That's not
enough.
true.
That's not enough.
Definitely
Not with
enough.
these inflation prices.
Well, I was gonna get into it, because here's the other thing. Another study came out, a more recent one, that disagreed with that first study, arguing that people who earn more are indeed happier. Now, Dev said she was like, to a certain extent, so I'm interested to see, like, what do you mean by certain
See,
extent?
because I feel like money can buy you opportunities that will make you happier, but I don't think actually having the money yourself makes you happier. However, I've never been rich and sad, but I've been poor and sad, and I bet being rich and sad's a lot more fun.
You know what's interesting? When we hit the streets, a lot of people kind of agreed with what Dev had to say. So let's run the tape and then I'll give my perspective. Can money buy you happiness?
No, money can only temporarily buy you happiness.
It can make life easier sometimes, which can make you happy sometimes, but ultimately it's you that makes yourself happy.
I don't think so. I work in a high-paying job and I work in sales, but I also grew up in the hood. I found that a lot of my happiness came from helping others, and that's like what I truly believe our purpose in life is.
Your goose don't make you happy?
I
The
won't
kicks
lie,
don't make
I'm
you
warm,
happy?
I'm warm, and
The bucks don't make you
No,
happy?
they do, but real happiness comes from helping other people.
Money can't buy you the things that bring you happiness, like your family and your friends.
There's a balance.
There's a balance.
right?
You can buy lots of fun stuff with money. They can make you happy for a little bit of time, but what about if you're not happy with the person you're with or with the family you're with?
So what if you were broke but you had a strong family unit? And what if you were rich but you had a fragile family unit? What would you prefer?
Broke with a good family.
For real?
Yeah.
I 100%, 1000% believe money can buy you happiness. What are the biggest stresses in life?
Money.
100%. How you gonna pay your mortgage?
Money.
How you gonna pay your rent?
Cash.
How you gonna buy food?
Bag.
Clothes on the back? On
Credit
your back?
card.
It all revolves around money. And so the more money that you have, to a certain extent, and this is where I agree with you, Dev, it can take away those stresses and then bring about happiness. Because if you can't afford to put gas in your tank, and if you can't afford to pay your mortgage, you are going to be happy. So here's where I think people lose the happiness, when you start to chase even more and more money. So you get to a certain level where you can comfortably afford to do all those things that you really want to do, but then you get into this lifestyle where like, ooh, I like the Gucci bag. Ooh, I like the Benz. And so now you start chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing, and you get lost in the chase and you forget what actually made you happy, which was not having to worry about all the stresses of not being able to afford your bills.
I think also that also revolves around you knowing what makes you happy though, and what
100%.
experiences make you happy and what's gonna make you content. Because if you don't know that, all this money will do nothing for you, because you're gonna be chasing happiness, but you don't know where it actually comes from.
You know what someone said to me though?
What did they say to you?
That when you're happy, money will come.
Who said that to you?
Do you believe it?
No. Anyhow, in the comments, make sure you drop it like it's hot. We want to know, does money make you happy? Can it buy you happiness? Let us know right now. Speaking of money, okay, and happiness, we had an interesting conversation in the office this week that got pretty hectic, and it was all about plastic surgery. So let me ask you, do you think that teenagers should be allowed to have plastic surgery?
No.
No.
Yes.
Burns?
I was no earlier, but I'm going a little back and forth after talking to the streeters.
So this all came up because of a recent Vogue article where Bella Hadid, everybody knows her, the model, revealed that she regrets having a nose job when she was just 14 years old. Now, Hadid is the daughter of model Yolanda Hadid, so she's always had the influence of the fashion world in her life, but her father is Palestinian, and Hadid told Vogue that she wishes she had kept the nose of her ancestors. Now, we asked you guys what you thought. Let's go right to the streeters and then we're gonna get our take, okay? Roll the clip. Should young people be allowed to get plastic surgery?
Well, how young? How young?
Like under 18?
No. I mean, again, it depends on the situation. If someone like had an accident
Yeah.
and they needed reconstructive surgery or something like that,
Yeah.
but like just because like they want like, I don't know, like breast augmentation
Yeah.
or nose job.
You say no.
No.
Okay, what do you say?
I agree, man. I truly believe we should be happy with the way that we were like created.
But should young people be allowed to get plastic surgery?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, why?
It's their bodies, their choice. We give them the right to do everything else, essentially, right? So
Yeah.
why not let them have the freedom to do what they want with their bodies?
So you got some kids in the back, right?
Yes.
If your child under 18 said, Mom, I wanted to get like breast implants.
Where are you getting the money from is what I'd ask. If you got the money for that, honey, you go for it, but I know you don't, so you can do what you want to do.
She's a real one, eh?
Right? You save your money. That's like $15,000.
Yeah.
So start working.
There's procedures where it's necessary. There's always going to be situations where like you can regret decisions you make, but I don't necessarily think having plastic surgery as a teenager is going to be one of them, because it depends on what you're getting, right? Like if you are super insecure because you have a big chest, you have plastic surgery as a teenager, and now that's taking away your back problems, it's taking away the pressure of creepy old men looking at you. All those things can benefit your life 100%.
Really quickly, let's put up a before and after photo, by the way, of Bella. And when I look at the photo, honestly, she looks great in both.
There should be an age though. Like I think 14-year-old getting plastic surgery versus a 16, 17-year-old having plastic surgery, two completely different things.
Yeah.
I think for medical reasons, yes.
So according to the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, listen to this, more than 64,000 kids aged 13 to 19 had plastic surgery in 2015 alone. That's a lot of kids. But I guess it's up to the parents. If the parents say it's okay, I guess that's fine. I think at the end of the day, people gotta do what makes them happy. But I do feel like a lot of the times when things are done, sometimes it can come from a place of insecurity because of the images that we were fed, especially if you grew up in a generation that you're not growing up now where you have access to social media, so you're seeing people on TikTok who are presenting themselves as more natural, and it just feels like you're inundated with images of people from all over the world. Whereas when we grew up, like cable was all we had. So when you're watching, let's say, Much Music or Family Channel, like the only black guy is like a basketball player. So you think you need to be 6 foot tall and you need to be built, and that's the black experience. And people who are not black think that that's what's normal or that's what's supposed to be attractive. If you're a white girl, the blonde hair, blue eyes with slender and all that. That probably affected a lot of kids' mindset. And I feel like this new generation is gonna be walking out and being like, okay, this is who I am. And what?
I hope so.
I hope so. Let us know in the comments. Should teenagers be able to get plastic surgery? Anyhow, I do want you to learn about something really exciting because we do have a great interview to share with you guys. This week I sat down with legendary music producer OVO 40, his government name Noah 40 Shebib. You know him. He's the man behind some of Drake's biggest tracks. He joined us along with Justice Fund co-founder Yonis Hassan to talk about the Justice Fund, a program that supports Toronto youth in conflict with the law. We also talked about Toronto's music scene and how the pandemic has affected what's been going down in the studio. You guys ready for this? Let's bring them in. Noah Shebib, Yonis Hassan, thanks so much for joining me on the BG show. I almost forgot the name of my own show. What the heck is going on here?
That's what I'm saying.
Y'all have me nervous. How you guys doing?
Good. Pleasure's all mine, by the way. Thank you for having us.
I'm so excited to have you guys. First off, I have to ask all my guests. I mean, Pandoroma has been going on nonstop. Kovisha's still out here, lurking in the wings. But how have you guys handled the last 2 years?
I would just say, pretty good. I mean, like, I'm coming from a pretty privileged and lucky place to be able to continue to do my work and all the things I love to do and stay in the studio and out of the way. So I'm blessed to be able to have been able to cope with it easily.
You probably have the best reaction of anybody who I've ever asked. Most people are like, it's been hell. I've been praying my way out of this. I've been on the licks.
No, it's terrible, but like, everyone comes from a different perspective, right? And myself having a lot of medical issues and troubles, I've been in and out of hospitals my whole life. So I've subscribed to the narrative of public health.
Just to stay on that point really quickly, because I know you've been in previous interviews, like you've talked about that you live with MS.
Yes.
How did you operate during these last 2 years?
I mean, I think people respected sort of my position there because I am immunocompromised. So I've been careful.
Yeah.
But as I said, I've been lucky, like I can hide in my studio and sort of stay out of the way. And I think people have shown me that much respect as to try and do the same around me. So it's been very isolating, but like I'm a pretty solitary individual. Like I do my best work alone, you know, at night by myself.
Jonas, has it been the same for you, or has it just been devastating for you?
No, it hasn't been devastating. Let's not be too dramatic.
Yeah.
It's been long. You know, I work in the not-for-profit sector. It's been a really rough road for frontline organizations, community groups, particularly north of Bloor, in the city of Toronto, Jane Finch, Malvern, Rexdale. So working with those groups and populations, it does take an effect, but again, privileged. I recognize the role that I have. I recognize the lifestyle that I live. I recognize the communities that I'm privileged to be working with, and you just take that and you keep it moving.
40, this is kind of interesting because for a lot of people, you don't do a lot of public interviews.
No.
Video interviews. Everybody knows your work.
I got my eyes on you. You're everything that I see. I want your high love and emotion endlessly.
Have you found like you've been more creative during the pandemic than pre-pandemic?
That's a really good question. I think like that affected people differently.
Yeah.
Some people locked in and made the most amazing music they've ever made over the last 2 years. I think I've done some great work, but as much as I can sit here and say I'm very solitary and I work alone, I am collaborative in the sense of, I run a big studio facility and I have a great team that it made it very difficult to work with, and I haven't been able to be collaborating with as many musicians. It made it difficult for me to keep up with the pace of Drake's lifestyle. So right at the beginning of the pandemic, Jacob Collier was on his way to come sit down and make some music with me, and he's like a young musician who's like incredibly talented, and I was so excited about and like canceled, So it's like all of those, and of course he's running around all over the place these days. I'll link up with him soon, but I'm just saying like all those things sort of slowed down. So that kind of slowed things for me a bit, I think, and I probably focus more on technical stuff. I'm a pretty sensitive person when it comes to my creativity. I can be like thrown off kilter very easily. So I'm like really protective of those environments. And I think that's the stresses and pressures of COVID were a lot to sort of balance, I find myself, when I'm creative, I need to be free, my mind needs to be clear. So like I have to clean the whole house, or I have to like do every single dish. Like there can't be a fork in the sink, like everything has to be perfectly clean. Okay, I have to like wipe the table, I need Windex, I need Lysol.
You sound like my mom, I'm
not
gonna lie, I feel triggered listening to this. Those shoes at the door.
No, but like
why is there a fork in the sink?
But then I can't work until then though. Like there's stuff to do. If there's anything that's like in the way, like of that creativity, I can't focus, right? So.
Are you half Jamaican, by the way?
No. I mean, I do sort of have another mother who's Jamaican though.
Yeah.
I grew up in a Jamaican home partially, so I mean, but and I love peppermint tea.
My mom would love you like that, like literally.
But like I just need to do all those things before I can create, and I need to clear my mind as much as I can to work. So COVID was a struggle from that perspective.
I would love to know, how did you guys both meet up? Because you guys have this amazing thing called the Justice Fund.
I was just going to give credit to our other co-founder, Jermaine Creed.
We got connected that way and started doing some work through the foundation, and
Susanna.
and my sister, who really is like in charge of my foundation and led that charge, and had the relationship with Jermaine to have him on the board in the first place. And when we started working with Yonis, it was sort of quick to recognize like this guy is really bright and intelligent.
So what is the Justice Fund?
So Justice Fund at its core is an anti-violence organization, and our mission is to support youth in conflict with the law. So we do that through 3 very simple ways, right? Supporting existing community-led initiatives. We've kind of mobilized the greater philanthropic community to free up their assets. There's a lot of money in the Canadian philanthropic sector. And then lastly, we are working on a bunch of different stuff that are going to be coming out over the next little while, all in relation to supporting those youth in conflict with the law.
For me, and from my perspective, like,
why was it so important for you to support
It's a
this?
violence thing in the city of Toronto, right? It's like, that's a really troubling issue for me. I hate to see good, wonderful, hearted people, kids get involved in this stuff. And I think when you're talking about programming and infrastructure to put around these issues and support these things, it's not very often it goes to criminalized youth because they're often neglected, and what I think they are the solution to solving these issues. It's not the kid that might live in a bad neighborhood but has all those support networks and maybe a loving family around him that can help, or her. It's the kid that's been in juvie his whole life and has been tagged and marked as problematic. That's who we need to develop resources for.
If I were a kid in the system and I'm hearing about this fund, what does that look like for that kid? Like, what hope does that provide?
Well, that looks like collaborating with, organizations that are working on community reintegration plans and supporting transitional houses for youth when they come out of spaces. Giving them the necessary resources in terms of workforce development so they can get the necessary skills in 2022 so they can go get a job. And if they don't want that, that means providing them with the adequate financial resources to start their own businesses. It's creating opportunities, trusting the frontline organizations. We don't go into communities and say, yo, we're going to come to your program, we're going to switch it up. No, we give them the resources that they need.
And what type of resources are we talking about? Because I know part of it's financial, so how much money are we talking about?
Yeah, financial resources.
Financial resources, right? So last year we gave about, and it's also about how those resources are being allocated.
Right.
So last year we gave about $500,000 in unrestricted grants.
Wow.
So we practiced
That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. So, a lot of those organizations that got those resources did not write an application process. It was a conversation between myself and their senior leadership, my colleagues as well.
And it's so important because there are so many community organizations on the ground level that I know that we were talking about this off camera. It's so hard for them to access the funding.
And the reality is, Black and Indigenous communities across Canada don't have access to the same social capital that philanthropy thrives on. At the same time, there is an institutional fear of funders from our communities because of the way that funding happens in our society, where we punish organizations for their work that they're doing, whether or not they hit their milestones or their goals, right? Like
systemic.
It's stupid. Like the corporatization of the not-for-profit sector is wild to me. Like we put so much key performance indicators and barriers on success to community organizations that they spend more time making sure that they hit those targets and report on those targets and doing the work itself and be, developing meaningful relationships with their participants or with their community, right? Like
it's a crazy thought that that's what happens, but like that's actually what we're talking about. You know? Like you get all this money and then like the pressure to report every penny spent on it, and to you end up spending more time on that than you do
admin.
The actual the admin. Correct. It's ridiculous.
And most people don't even fund the admin work, right? Like the stupidity of the sector. What? Like how? Like I'm saying, right? And like,
that's what's so painful about it is that they end up not helping the kids, and so that's like of philanthropy, right?
Yeah. So Noah, what can we expect for this year? I mean, y'all did really good last year.
Jonas, you have to answer this question.
Man, don't be tight-lipped with me.
He's the gatekeeper. So
we have a lot planned. It's a lot of it is messy. All right, give you context. Why? Last year we took a truck, and on the outside we put Canadian Philanthropies hoarding $86 billion of taxpayer assets, and then we parked it outside of City Hall. And we invited all the philanthropists to come down, and it destroyed my inbox. I'm still cleaning it up. But, we like to
spice it up a little bit.
Spice it up a bit. This year,
cause a little trouble.
Yeah, a little bit of trouble. This year, we have a bunch of stuff coming up, including, we're going to be, we completed our first pilot project with Tim Hortons Camp Foundations to bring Black youth from the city of Toronto to their camps. We'll be handing out our care packages again. So last year, we handed about 325 care packages.
Wow.
Each one had a brand new laptop, some clothing from 2 partners, an action toolkit that had a bunch of resources for youth.
Noah, you have had such an impact on the music scene across the world, and it's clear now that you want to have that impact socially. 5 years down the line, what do you hope will have changed in the city?
Wow. In the city, I would hope that we're trending in the other direction. As far as violence in communities. And so I would just hope that we can start to heal and begin that journey and find peace in the city that is incredibly more and more violent. For myself, as far as these mobile studio cases that I'm working on, my dream is to have them in every single community center in the city.
Guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me on the BG Show. I love what you guys are doing.
Thank you for having us.
Keep us posted, keep us updated. We'll be following along.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, Rick.
I love what they're doing.
Breaking the cycle is hard.
Yeah, like what Yonis is doing on his front, but also what 40's doing, like knowing that like somebody who has achieved probably the most you can achieve in the music industry as a producer, and now going to the micro level of like, how am I gonna help my city be better? You know, I'm gonna speak into existence. We're gonna bring him back on. I think we're gonna do a profile piece on him. You guys want the dirty?
Always.
Before we let you go, it's time for Doing Too Much. This is actually from right here in Toronto. The TTC, listen to this, is investigating after a video surfaced that appears to be recorded by a bus driver of two seemingly intoxicated. Let's just roll footage. Roll footage.
Hello? This is, oh man. This is when you're fried. Well, I am out of service for the day.
Okay, so some people feel that the passengers were in the wrong for this, but some people are also taking aim at the driver, saying that it was inappropriate for the driver to record what was taking place. So then who's doing too much in this moment?
They did too much, that's why they're like that.
But did the driver do too much in your opinion?
No,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
TTC bus drivers have to deal with a lot.
They have to deal with so much. And so as the TTC is investigating, I think as a collective, we've all agreed that we are gonna have this bus driver's back. Let us know if you agree. Let us know who's doing too much in that section. And also remember this, we do drop music news every Tuesday and Friday. If you haven't watched previous episodes of The BG Show, and never forget to do this. Subscribe to this channel, tap that notification bell, and make sure to follow us on all of our social media. We'll see you same place, same time next week. We love you for watching. Hey BG Squad, thanks so much for checking out our channel. And listen to this, we have more great content for you, like this video right here and this video right here. By the way, don't forget to subscribe to this channel right now and tap that notification bell.